So, speaking of mystical love, which is a theme that you see through all mystical texts, independently of the cultural and religious aspects. Though, yes, sure, you see it very strongly in the Sufi mystics, Ibn Arabi and Rumi, but it goes through all cultures and all religions. So what makes love so particularly special that it's touched by so many mystics? Firstly, if we speak of love, we should determine what is meant by love. Because in today's society and in today's sort of environment, we mistake obsession with love. In one of the ancient Indian texts, they state to love doesn't mean to own. And that's a very important notion, because it basically states that where is love, there is no space for ego. And truly, if you have ever fallen in your life deeply in love, one of the things that you experience is that you consciously dissolved in the beloved, which means it's a transcendental experience. You no longer feel yourself like a limited entity, but more or less you feel yourself unified with the beloved, if you're so lucky to actually be close or be loved back from the beloved. But even if not, it transcends your personal ego, it transcends yourself, and that's why in love people are capable of sacrificing themselves, because love is something that goes beyond themselves. And the feeling is beyond language. That's why it's so complicated to describe love, and if you try it, it really looks more dry. Then you turn to poetry, because art has this tendency to describe things that are sort of not really describable by common language. So you go to poetry, love even inspires people that have basically no poetic skills to actually write something. And even though it may not have the level of poets, of high art, it's still genuinely authentic. And this transcendence of one, this feeling of conscious dissolving in the beloved, is a theme that we really see in the mystical experiences across the globe, across the cultures and across the times. And that's what makes love so close to the mystical experience, and that's why mystics describe love as something mystical, and the mystical experience on the other hand as well as love. It's something genuinely human, if you think about it. With exceptions, the absolute majority of people are capable of love. Though our culture, especially our modern ages, are sort of overwhelming us with desire and enviness and other feelings that are not part of love. They are part of obsession, but not love. And therefore, if we are talking about mysticism and love, we are talking about the transcendence. Now, the other aspect that's very important, that what makes love really mystical, is the unity. You feel unified. So you transcend yourself, you go beyond language, because experiencing of love is so primordial that it happens in your mind before you even are capable of express it in words. Sometimes you even struggle to express it in words. And it has a feeling of unity. Now, mysticism itself, it's very often described as the unity of all beings. To sort of simplify it, but keep it more true, is mysticism is the conscious experience of the unity of the universe. Now, every description and every definition will be by nature false, because it happens in language, and language is a very limited tool and can never precisely describe what's what's happening basically beyond language. And that's why Wittgenstein said, what cannot be spoken of, one shall remain in silence. It's not a perfect quote, but that's basically what he said in the last words of his Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus. So that makes mysticism very special, because it cannot be really defined, but the closest definition would be it's the unity of being with the universe. Now, obviously throughout historical and cultural references, this universe term would be substituted with various names of gods depending on the historical era and the culture where the person would be. So Ibn Arabi would unify it with obviously the Muslim god, Christian mystics with the Christian, and say Taoists or Buddhists may keep it more simpler. And it doesn't change the fact that the genuine experience is basically the experience of this unity. And therefore I think as well that as love is something naturally human, that mysticism and the mystical experience is something that can be genuinely humanly attained. Although as well I don't believe that there is any recipe to get there, and that's for another video. But this being something genuinely human, and maybe even genuinely connected to living things, that it makes it agnostic. Because there is no right or wrong mystical culture or even religion. It's something that one can seek for himself and experience for himself if he is, say, lucky enough. And the unity with the universe then becomes something that is completely beyond any religion. I think that's an important notion, as love is something completely beyond any culture. There's no culture where you can say that love is more authentic than in another one. It might be different, but it still will be love. Love in a sense where the beloved is more to you than yourself. Love in a sense where being with the beloved is an unknown feeling, so overwhelming that you don't know the boundaries of yourself and the beloved anymore. And that's something that I see so rarely today, because we really are more and more educated and influenced in a way of love being transitional ownership, which to me it's not, because we would lose the transcendental ability. And it's sad, it's really sad if people cannot feel and attain this transcendental love, because it's really eye-opening.